Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. Happy IAE 2955 week. We are going to have the event kick off in about 2 days at this point. And in this video, I wanted to discuss a ton of news that we know about the event officially and unofficially. So we have things like the new podcasts that are going to be releasing from CIG in the next few days, as well as some data mines regarding all of the new ships that are actually releasing during the event. Now, if you are enjoying the content and you want to stick around for all of the IAE coverage, feel free to subscribe. I do have channel memberships open if you wanted to go the extra mile, and feel free to join the community Discord and talk about all of the stuff happening with IAE this year. With that out of the way, though, let's get into everything going on for this week in Star Citizen and the big event. All right, now moving into some of the official news. Tomorrow we have 4.4 releasing to live servers. Whether or not it's ready for that, who really knows, but it's releasing because it has to be ready for IAE. And then we also have a roadmap update. Now, don't expect any crazy news to come out of this update as we're in the middle of 4.4, and the chances of hearing anything about any future patches or anything like that is very, very low. Maybe some updates to the progress tracker. On Thursday, there's also going to be, of course, the start of IAE and the release of the Perseus, which will be absolutely awesome. There's also going to be the first episode of the IAE podcast, Talking Shop. Now, I am genuinely curious as to what your opinion is on this because last year they had the IAE show. It was a 4-part series. It was super cool, very entertaining, a little bit silly, but also had a ton of information in it. And I just generally think it was a really awesome experience. Now, moving into this year with the podcast, it seems like it's a little bit lackluster, or at least the idea is. Maybe the podcast is awesome, but undeniably, during the biggest event for Star Citizen across the whole year, I would really, really hope they had some inside Star Citizen type content. Now, who knows, maybe next week or the week after they have some more of that type of content, but to think that we might only have a podcast this year does feel a little bit weird. And I am curious as to your thoughts on that. Do you prefer this podcast format potentially, or are you kind of missing the IE show stuff that we had last year? Let me know down below. All right, now that really is all the official stuff that we have to talk about. That's worth noting at the moment. There will be, of course, more information once we get the Perseus Q&A and we actually get official first looks at these ships. But for now, we have some fun data mines that'll get us excited for this Thursday. Now, just a heads up, all of these data mines coming from the Discussing Whatever Discord. There will be some ships that do have videos and or actual pictures of the ships to go alongside them. Some of them won't, so just a heads up there. But there is some really cool videos here, and if you want to check out the full thing, there will be a link down below for their Discord. There is a lot of really cool stuff there, so feel free to check that out as well. Now, the first ship here that you probably heard about already because it's definitely controversial to some because of the way it looks, that is the Drake Clipper. Now, the Drake Clipper looks to be one of the most interesting ships that's ever been released, in my opinion, and that's because it doesn't really have a specific role. This thing has a very small cargo bay, a medical facility, and even a crafting machine integrated into it. This obviously is very cool because it's the first ship that I think we're ever getting with integrated crafting. But I mean, it's such an ugly ship, but I also really love it for that reason. I don't know. Maybe it's just because people like hate on it so much and it just makes me want to like it more or something like that. I don't know. But it looks very interesting and has a very functional role, I suppose you could say. Of course, this thing is not going to be specific for one thing or the other. It's probably going to be a really great daily driver if you have like a small crew or just by yourself. So I really do see this thing doing pretty well, especially because of the functionality. I mean, it's going to be a pretty cool thing to have in the verse. As you can see on screen, these are the paints they're going to be releasing with this ship. Of course, nothing's going to hide the fact that this thing is designed to be like a flying brick with wings, but I kind of love it for that reason. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below. The next ship I don't want to spend too much time on because it's basically a variant, but definitely it's a newer design still, and that is the Drake Golem OX. Now, this is basically just a cargo variant of the Drake Golem, and it's a little bit bigger. It obviously has to have a little bit more space because it holds up to 64 SCU. Now, I actually really enjoy the idea behind the ship. The first Drake Golem, I think it's a cool ship, and I think whenever I get into more mining, I'm going to use it at some point. But I certainly think this one might be higher on the list of ships I would use just in general because it's small, it probably can fit in a lot of spaces, and it holds 64 SCU, and I think that's actually pretty decent. Now, these are the paints that go alongside it. Of course, it's going to look pretty similar to the Drake Golem, but with the classic Drake style, I think it's still just like the Clipper. Looks a little ugly, but also looks really cool, and I'll take that. All right, now moving on to the next vehicle here, we have the Greycat MDC. Now, I'll put these pictures on screen here of these skins. Nothing too crazy. I actually enjoy that they're kind of, maintained a little bit with like camos rather than just like flashy paints. But what I'll say here is that this is a really unique vehicle. It's nothing we've had ever in the past is like this. And that's because it has a PDS turret on it. Now, if you don't know what a PDS turret, that's the stuff that you have on like capital ships to shoot incoming missiles and stuff like that. So, as far as we're concerned, this will be just a not a blade controlled because it's not a blade, but a computer controlled gun, and it will shoot at any enemies or anything like that that come within vicinity. I think this is an interesting idea. I can't say it's a good idea yet because I could see there definitely being problems with the fact that it's probably not human controlled. But I also really do appreciate that idea because there's a lot of times where you're out mining or doing something and a ship flies over you, just annihilates you, and you really had no chance to fight back. In this situation, if you left this thing on, you would have the turret just start shooting at whatever is shooting back at you, and you don't even have to be in the thing for it to fight back. So it definitely is a very interesting idea. Whether or not it'll actually be executed well, who really knows? But I do like it, and I think the original MTC was super cool. So I am looking forward to seeing this one in the verse. I'm definitely curious as to what your thoughts are having a PDS turret on a ground vehicle. All right, now moving into the L22 Alpha Wolf. This is going to be, I guess, a variant of the L21, and nothing too crazy here, honestly. This thing is just going to have some size 4 laser repeaters rather than the ballistic weapons, and I guess these new paints might be applicable to the L21. Who really knows? But I do like the red and blue one. Kind of looks clean to me. I can't say much here. I mean, it's a light fighter, it's a slight variant, and that's about it. Moving on to the next ship, we have the RSI Salvation. Now, the RSI Salvation is going to be a starter salvage ship. It looks pretty cool as you can see these paints on screen. You can very clearly see the inspiration from the Zeus CL in the blue and yellow paint. I actually really like that. But, there's not a ton to say here. I mean, you can kind of tell where the concept art kind of meets with the official art here. And I do think it looks pretty clean. Now, one thing I do think is cool about the ship, and I do actually have a picture of, is that the back of the ship there is a cutout where the salvage boxes will, I assume, just kind of hang there. It's kind of similar to, I guess, the Golem in some ways, but I do like the design, and I definitely think that this will act as a really good starter ship just based off of how much it looks like it'll hold, and of course the size of the thing. I mean, this thing is definitely pretty damn small. All right, now the next ship we're going to talk about here is the big boy of the event this year, and that is the RSI Perseus. Now, as you can see here on screen, we do have a video of it flying. There is also an interior tour video, but of course, that's going to take some time. So that is, of course, linked in the Discussing Whatever Discord, and I absolutely suggest you check it out. Very, very cool ship. What I'll say here is that with the sound in the background, I won't have it on this video just because I know it would be distracting, but the sound design for the Perseus sounds incredible. And as you can see, there's also what looks to be some updated MFDs. Maybe we'll hear something about that as well. But what I will say is that this thing is looking really, really good. Now, I also do have some of the paints for the Perseus, which I will throw up on screen. But I mean, the ship speaks for itself. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. And I just cannot wait to see this thing in actual combat because, man, I think it's gonna do real well. Outside of that, I mean, there's not much to say. We've been waiting all year for this thing, and it is finally here. We just have to wait 2 more days, and all those Perseus owners will be able to get their hands on it. I know it's been a long wait, but man, it's going to be a really, really cool ship. So I hope you are excited for it. Now, that really is going to do it for this video in terms of the IAE news. Now, of course, it's going to be 2 days, and we're actually going to be able to get our hands on some of these new ships and actually see them for ourselves, which I think will be super, super cool. Now, I want to say that the engineering tech preview just went offline for wave one. It was a really cool experience. They actually had some super awesome stuff that wasn't engineering related, like the physicalized helmet. So you could actually have your helmet on the ground, not just in a green box. You could hold it, put it on with these animations, put it on your side, on your hip. Super cool stuff. I'll have that in the video playing in the background. But what I will say is that it was a really cool experience, and it certainly could open up to more waves soon. Not entirely sure, but who really knows at this point? All I know is that it's looking to be a pretty solid holiday season for Star Citizen, and I'm really pumped, and I hope you guys are as well. Some exciting news as well. I believe for my next video, we should have a sponsor for that one, and that is going to be really cool. I'm super excited to talk about that, and it's definitely something Star Citizen related. So I'm really happy about that as well. Outside of that, I want to say thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching. It's been super busy lately, but I'm certainly trying to get these videos out as frequently as I can, and I really do appreciate you sticking around with me. So, outside of that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you are excited for IAE, and I will see you in the next video.